Hi, welcome back. Today I want to talk a little bit about the ego. What is it? How does it affect us? And it's not the ego we're probably most commonly used to knowing about. It's not the ego that says, I have the newest cell phone or the nicest watch or the designer handbag or the biggest house or the fastest car. It's the ego that plants doubt in our mind. It's that part of us that remembers all of those failures we had of the past, all of those times we tried something and it didn't work out, those projects that we tried to undertake and we fell on our face, then we just gave up on them. It remembers the embarrassment, it remembers the humiliation, right? All those different things that we've experienced throughout our lives. And it holds on to those, it holds on to it, and it remembers every single thing, everything. We may have forgotten about it, but it didn't forget about it. And it likes to poke its head out and just kind of peek around the corner whenever you have that little inspiration to try this new hobby, go talk to this person that you've been wanting to talk to. It just pokes its head out and it says, remember last time you tried that? Remember what happened? You were embarrassed. She told all her friends and everybody laughed at you. Or that project, you everybody told you you weren't going to be able to do it, and look what happened. It didn't work out, and you wasted all this time and you wasted all these resources. It remembers that, but what it's not doing is it's not allowing you to go forward. And that voice is very loud. It's just that voice that always plants doubt. It plants that little seed of you probably might not succeed at this, you might fail, and it gets kind of annoying. And there's different ways to kind of deal with that, and I can tell you a couple of different ways that I've used. The biggest thing with it is, does it really mean any harm? Not really. It's trying to protect you. It's trying to protect us, right? It remembers, like I said, everything that didn't work out for us in the past. And it's just trying to stop that cycle from happening again. So there's really not any bad intent there. It's just the way it works. It's there as a shield. So when it starts to plant those seeds of doubt, and it tries to tell you, no, you can't go talk to that person because this isn't going to work out the way you think. Remember last time. When you hear that and you hear that voice, you just very simply say, okay, thanks for reminding me about that, and don't give it any more thought. Don't think about it anymore. Let it go. And the more you continue to just you acknowledge that voice, but you don't listen to it. There's a difference. Understanding that it's there and pushing it aside and going forward, taking that step forward, is going to quiet that voice. Hearing that voice and then actually listening to it after you acknowledge it is very different, because now what you're doing is you're saying, okay, I heard it, which is the acknowledgement part, and now I'm not going to go forward with what I want to do. Now you just listen to it. So there's a huge difference. The more you acknowledge it but don't listen to it, the easier it's going to be for you to go ahead and move forward with your life, with whatever it is that you're trying to do. There's also that voice, right? It's a very quiet voice. It's that soft, subtle voice, that voice that's just loud enough to be heard, but really not enough to overtake the ego, right? Those are those are your spirit guides. That's God, that's source, right? Those are your ancestors. That's a very soft, quiet voice, right? That's your intuition. That voice is telling you, we support you. This is what you need to do. Follow that thought. Go down that path. You take on that big project, or go talk to that person, or start the process of buying that house, or whatever it is you're trying to do. It's just loud enough to be heard, but it's not loud enough to convince you, right? Because the point is, they're trying to lead and guide you where you need to go, and they're not going to push very hard. They're not going to be very loud. They're not going to come down with big thunder and flashing lights and say, hey, like, we're here, like, we're telling you to do this, because you have free will, right? And as long as we have free will, they're not going to push us too hard. They're just going to say, hey, we're here for you. If you want to do this, we've got your back. And the ego is going to keep coming in and saying, yeah, 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 like, I get it, but however, last time, last 3 times, last 5 times, this is what happened. And that little voice is still going to keep giving you that feeling in your gut. You're going to get that gut. It's going to be, hey, we've got it. It's all good. Just trust us. Trust us. Because that's the main part, right? That's the main thing we're here to learn, is that we have to trust God. We have to trust our spirit guides, source, however you refer to those higher powers. They're here to help you down this path, right? I've talked about that in my previous videos. That's all they're here to do. You came here with a goal, and that goal is to do certain things in this lifetime, to learn, for your soul to learn certain lessons. And their object, they're assigned to you by God. God says, these are your angels. They're here to help you. They're going to lead you where you need to go, but they're not going to tell you what you have to do. See, that's the biggest part. Your ego is trying to tell you not to do something. It's trying to tell you, don't do this, because again, it's trying to protect you from that failure, because nothing that we're ever given to do in this life is going to be easy, right? We're not here to be on vacation every single day. There's going to be a lot of road bumps. There's going to be a lot of just walls that are just going to get thrown up in front of us. And the point is to have faith and continue down this journey, so your soul can gain wisdom, so it can gain knowledge. So it's got something to take away from this life to help it to continue to grow. And everything that you want to do in this life, all that's those little soft voices, little nudges that you hear, the little taps on the shoulder, those are your guides. That's God, that source, that's saying, hey, this is really what you should be doing right now. Don't pay any attention to this. But again, we have free will, so we don't have to, right? That's where it gets a little messy. That's where it gets a little sticky. Because as long as we have free will, they cannot force us to do anything. And that's just one of the agreements that we came here when we were born. That was the understanding. You have a job to fulfill here while you're here. You have something to learn. But if you don't learn it, then we can make things very difficult for you, and we can cause things to happen that will force you to have to do this. And that's where the ego can get us in a lot of trouble, right? Because if you continue to keep listening to that ego, that really loud voice, and you don't learn how to quiet it down by just acknowledging it but not listening to it and going forward with your plans, you're going to keep going off the path. And the farther and farther and farther you get off the path, the harder your guides, source, God is going to have to push you to get you back to where you want to go. And sometimes it's not just a little shove. Sometimes it's the world comes crashing down and you don't understand why. What did you do? You didn't do anything wrong. Well, you technically didn't, but you also did at the same time, right? Because you continue to keep making that choice to listen to that loud voice, that ego, and it got you in trouble. And it typically almost always gets us in trouble, right? If not trouble, then maybe regret. Because then you might be 6 months or a year from now saying, what would have happened if? Gosh, if I just would have done what I wanted to do. Done what I wanted to do is that soft voice. It's that very soft voice that I spoke about earlier that just says, hey, it's good. Go ahead. Just keep going. We got you. And you should do it, but you don't, right? So try to practice that if you can. Whenever you want to do something, whenever you have this thought and it's like, oh, that'd be really cool to do, or that'd be fun, or I really want to try that. Whenever you hear that, hey, you're not good enough, or oh, you don't have enough money, or the timing's not right, just hear it and let it go. Don't give it any more thought. Change your thought. Go on to something else. Don't continue to dwell on it. When you start to do that, the voice will get quieter and quieter, and then that softer voice will start to get a little bit louder. Right, not literally louder, but you'll be more comfortable paying attention to it. You will know that, hey, the last couple of times I did what I wanted to do, and I didn't listen to this really loud megaphone in my ear, everything went better. It was a little bit rough, but I learned a lot, and I actually came out better on the other side. Whereas the ego is going to try to get you to take the path of least resistance, which is staying still, staying stuck in that quicksand and not going anywhere. And that's not what you want. That's not how we grow. That's not how we evolve, right? So that softer voice helps you out in other ways as well. So, you could be going on a long road trip and you're like, oh, there's a lot of traffic, and we got to get off this highway. We got to do this. But you don't have any idea where you are because you've never been there before. And, you have this thought like, hey, just take this little shortcut. Just go ahead and do that. That's fine. Or you get this email and you have this feeling that's like, oh man, I don't know if I should open that email, but you do it, or you take that shortcut. that little voice will warn you also, right? This is where that voice can also have the opposite effect, right? It can keep you from getting in trouble. And that's where you have to be able to decipher between the two, right? When you're thinking about taking that shortcut, or you're thinking about going down that road, and remember, your guide's God source, they know what the potential outcome is going to be from that. Like, they know what could possibly happen if you do this. And we don't. We think we're doing what's best at the time, but they can see forward. We can't. So when you're thinking about taking a little shortcut, you may get that feeling in the pit of your stomach where just a little bit of a butterfly, or the little fluttering in your chest, that little, maybe kind of a little bit heavy to breathe. That's them saying, hey, don't do that, because we know what's going to happen. You may get stuck on that road. You may get a flat tire, and there's not going to be any service, any communication for you, and you're going to be stuck. Or, no, this really isn't a legitimate email, like, don't answer it. Because if you do, you can infect your virus, or they can get your bank account information. They can just drain all your money out of your bank account. The ego, in that case, remember, these are kind of how I experience certain things in my life. That ego will say, the shortcuts, it just saves so much time. It'll save so much time. You'll probably save 20, 30 minutes on the drive, because that's all that it's looking at, right? It's looking at how to get you out of this situation to get you to a better one. But that softer voice is saying, stay right here, because even though this looks better, it may not be. It's just like making that big purchase. You see it, you're like, oh yeah, I want to go buy this new electric bike or whatever it is, right? And that's a lot of money. And that softer voice is like, but how much are you really going to use it, right? Like, you don't ride your bike that much now. So if you have an electric bike, is that going to make you want to get outside? Because that's the whole purpose of being outside, is riding a bike is being outside. At least in my mind it is. So, if I want to be outside, I want to enjoy what's around me, I'll walk or I'll ride a bike. I'll drive to a park if it's too far away to do either of the other two. But having an electric bike, let's per se, just may not. You may have it and then do it a couple of times and think, you're just maybe not an outdoor person. But the thought of it was nice. They know you. They know that part. And they're saying, okay, you're going to get it, and that's fine. But you're going to have buyer's remorse because you're not going to use it. So that softer voice will also try to protect you from decisions where it knows. But those, for me, my experience is, it's a feeling within my body. So when the ego is trying to tell me not to go forward, not to take that step, not to go on this journey, that softer voice is more of a comforting voice for me. It's more of a, no, it'll be fine. Like, that's what you want to do, go do it. On the other hand, if I'm wanting to take that shortcut or make that purchase, the ego's like, yeah, that's so cool, be so cool. Yeah, think about how much quicker you can get there over this or whatever. Take that shortcut or go make that purchase. That softer voice is going to affects me a little differently. And it may be this way for multiple people or everyone or no one. But for me, I feel a change in my gut, in my chest. I feel that the butterflies will kick in very softly. My chest might be a little bit harder to breathe at that moment when I hear that thought, like, don't do that. There was a time where I never listened to that and then wished that I had. And then there's a time when I wish I didn't listen to my ego and I listened to the other voice. So it does affect us all differently. It's really up to each of us to understand how we're trying to be communicated with through all of those, through that source, through that energy, through the spirit guides. It takes a little bit of practice. It takes a lot of trust to know what we should listen to and what we shouldn't listen to, but also trust to know that if you listen to that softer voice, that it's here to help you. That louder voice, that saying the squeaky wheel gets the grease, that's what that louder voice is. It's that squeaky wheel. It's just trying to get your attention. It's that softer voice that's not trying to make a big deal. That is really the one that we, in my opinion, should be listening to. But it's up to you to know when to and when not to listen to it, right? We all have that free will. So anyway, I hope this helped. Again, I don't try to make very long videos. I think it just gets, a little too much. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them down in the comments. Once again, thanks for watching. Until next time, take it easy.